Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. And the Brhad Bhagavatamrta we are reading now is, I consider to be in the category of Srila Prabhupada's books because of the BBT translator, editors, and the loyalty, fidelity of Gopi Pranadana Prabhu as the translator, Jayadvaita Maharaj as the editor, and some of my best friends who are literary people, they call this the gold standard in terms of the English, the BBT publications. So here we are in the live studios once again. Greetings to all of you. We hope you're well and safe and happy in all respects. Here in Hythe, life is going on. Today, I proof-heard and made adjustments to the CC audiobook. 4.5 hours. It's a big chunk of time. Meantime, Rishika Shiromani is doing this with me. Right now it takes about double the time it takes to listen. In other words, for an hour's worth of hearing, it takes 2 hours to do this work of proof hearing and making adjustments, and so on and so forth. So hopefully we'll keep going like we are now, and it does get easier as we go along because the first parts of the recording was not done so carefully by the recorder in terms of checking me from making mistakes, so we had to go back and correct a lot of things. But it's nectar. I'm hearing practically 4, 6, practically 10 hours a day of sadhana or hearing, so that's the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Okay, Srimad Bhagavat Mahima Stotram, written by Srila Sanatana Goswami, the author of the Brhad Bhagavatamrta. Based on this Srimad Bhagavata Mahima Stotram, is the Bhagavatam, is the basis of it. So we read this glorification of the Bhagavatam. It goes like this: Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu, Kalidwan Doditaditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life, air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Varshakshadayate, Sarvada Sarvasevyaya, Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin, Madguro Man Mahadana, Man Nishtadaka Madbhagya, Mad Anandana Mostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhuta dayin, adini chochatakara, hanamun chakadachin mam, premnarit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Okay, we've reached the 4th chapter of the first part of Brhad Bhagavatamrta. Narada is continuing with his survey of the universes, of the universe and beyond, trying to find the devotee who has received the most mercy from Krishna, the dearest devotee. And he's now been sent to Sutala by Lord Shiva to meet Prahlad Maharaj. And now we're hearing Narada's praise of Prahlad. And we're starting from the 10th chapter of the 10th verse, rather, of the 4th chapter. Responding to your Lord's love, you agreed to assume your father's throne. And as you told Nishinga in your prayers, by doing this you wished to help deliver all people. You are still on that royal seat, fixed in meditation on Lord Nishinga. Commentary. Considering the Lord's unconditional affection toward him, Prahlad finally agreed to sit on the throne of his father. He intended to use the vast wealth of Hiranyakashipu's kingdom for preaching. If he could arrange for the deliverance of everyone in the universe, Prahlad calculated, that might satisfy the Lord. It certainly seems curious that Prahlad at first refused elevation to the spiritual kingdom, but later accepted a limited kingdom in the material world. But Prahlad did this because of a special hankering in his heart, his desire to free the people of the world from their distress. He did not worry that by involvement in politics, his own spiritual interests would be endangered, since he was confident that his unbroken meditation on the personality of Godhead would always protect him. Thus Prahlad prayed to Lord Nishingadev, my dear Lord, you are always transcendently situated on the other side of the river of death, but because of the reactions of our own activities, we are suffering on this side. Indeed, we have fallen into this river and are repeatedly suffering the pains of birth and death and eating horrible things. Now kindly look upon us, not only upon me, but also upon all others who are suffering, and by your causeless mercy and compassion, deliver us and maintain us. Bhagavatam 7:9-41. Material existence is like the river Vaitarani, the gateway to the court of death. In general, material life on earth is full of suffering, no less so than life in the subterranean realms of hell. Therefore, although immune to these dangers, for our benefit, Prahlad speaks as if fearing the troubles he can expect in various births and deaths. And he presents himself as befooled like most people, who deal with one another either as enemies or as friends, and who thereby are bewildered in all circumstances. Prahlad addresses Lord Nishinga as Parachara, he who is situated on the other side of the Vaitarani river, or in other words, in the eternally free realm of Vaikuntha. Expressing his own pain at seeing the suffering of other souls in the material world, Prahlad requests the Lord to please carry him across the Vaitarani to safety. He then further prays, O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, original spiritual master of the entire world, what is the difficulty for you, who manage the affairs of the universe, in delivering the fallen souls engaged in your devotional service? You are the friend of all suffering humanity, and for great personalities it is necessary to show mercy to the foolish. Therefore I think that you will show your causeless mercy to persons like us who engage in your service. Bhagavatam 7:9-42. Here Prahlad addresses Lord Nrsimha as the spiritual master of all souls, implying that it is quite fitting for him to show mercy to everyone without exception. For the Lord to deliver every soul in existence should not be a great endeavor, because he creates, maintains, and destroys universes as a mere sport. And even less difficult should it be for the Lord to deliver his own devotees and their servants, like Prahlad, who considers himself a falling demon, and with the one good qualification of being Narada Muni's faithful disciple. Text 11. You once went to the Naimisha forest to have darshan of Narayana, who is known as the Lord in yellow dress. While on the road, you satisfied the Lord in combat, and he told you, yes, I am always conquered by you. Commentary. This incident is recounted in a number of scriptures, including the Vamana Purana 7. Once Prahlad took a trip to Naimisharanya to see Lord Pitabhasa, the beautiful form of the Supreme Lord. While traveling on the road, he met a strange person who was dressed like an austere renunciate, but was carrying a warrior's bow and arrows. Prahlad assumed from this person's contradictory attire that he must be some kind of hypocrite, abusing the true principles of religion. Therefore Prahlad started a fight with the sannyasi, vowing, I swear I shall defeat you. But even after several days of dueling, Prahlad could not subdue this adversary. Early one morning, before resuming the battle, Prahlad worshipped his personal deity. He then saw his opponent standing nearby, wearing the same garland he had just offered the deity. Prahlad suddenly recognized that the stranger was Lord Pitabhasa, Narayana himself. Thereupon, offering prayers to that opponent with all the competence at his command, Prahlad tried to satisfy him. In response, the Lord touched him with his lotus hand, which relieved Prahlad from the fatigue of fighting and from all anxiety. Prahlad asked Lord Pitabhasa what to do about having transgressed the duty of a Kshatriya by having made a promise, namely to defeat his opponent, and not having fulfilled it. The Lord, fully satisfied by the sport of fighting with Prahlad, told him, but I am always defeated by you. Text 12. Sri Parikshit continued, having said this, Narada, the ocean of ecstasies and devotion to Lord Hari, began to dance. That intimate servant of the Lord shouted, conquered by us. Commentary. The words Jitam Asmabi, conquered by us, imply that Narada claimed victory not just for himself and Prahlad, but for all the devotees of Lord Narayana. Text 13. Sri Narada then said, O best of Vaishnavas, why should I say that Lord Mukunda has been conquered only by you? Your grandson, Bali, chief of the Daityas, has also conquered him. By your grace, Bali keeps the Lord as his doorman. Commentary. Bali conquered the Lord in the sense of gaining control over him, by which Lord Vamana now serves always as Bali's doorkeeper. Since Bali was a leader of the Daityas, the enemies of Lord Vishnu's devotees, he could have obtained this influence only by the Lord's special favor. Sri Prahlad himself explained this while offering prayers to Lord Vamana. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are universally worshipped. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva worship your lotus feet. Yet although you are such a great personality, you have kindly promised to protect us, the demons. I think that such kindness has never been achieved even by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, or the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. What to speak of other demigods or common people? Bhagavatam 8:23, 6. The Prahlad Samhita of the Skanda Purana, in the chapters describing the glories of Dwarkadam, also relates the following history. When Dwarka city was once attacked by 10 powerful Daityas, a committee of residents, headed by Durvasa Rishi, went in great distress to the abode of Bali Daityaraj. There the sage Durvasa beseeched Lord Vamanadev to come to Dwarka to defend him. But the Lord to defend them. But the Lord replied, O best of Brahmanas, I am not independent, because I am purchased by pure devotion, and by that alone, I am now the order carrier of Bali. I am completely controlled by that king of the Daityas. So, my dear excellent Brahmana, please go ask the demon Bali, son of Virochana, and if he orders, I shall at once do whatever you want. Oh, Skanda Purana, Prabhaskanda 4:19, 2 and 3. But when Durvasa submitted his request to Bali Maharaj, Bali refused to give permission for Lord Vamana to leave Sutalaloka. Even after Durvasa expressed the intention to fast until death, Bali told him, let whatever you intend come about. Whatever you have in mind, please do that. But I shall never give up the 2 lotus feet at which Brahma, Rudra, and all other demigods bow down. Skanda Purana 7:4, 19, 16. Text 14. From now on, I intend to stay here permanently with you. By your power, I shall certainly be able to overcome the curses I have received from Daksha and others. Commentary. Not only Daksha, but others also have cursed Narada to be unable to stay in one place for more than a short time. Daksha cursed him as follows. You have made me lose my sons once, and now you have again done the same inauspicious thing. Therefore, you are a rascal who does not know how to behave toward others. You may travel all over the universe, but I curse you to have no residence anywhere. Bhagavatam 6:5-43. In the allegorical story of King Puranjana, old age, the daughter of time, also curses Narada. Because you refused my request to marry me, you will not be able to stay in one place for a long time. Bhagavatam 4:27-22. Text 15. Sri Parikshit said, unable to tolerate hearing his own praise, Prahlad lowered his face in embarrassment, bowed down before Narada, and respectfully addressed him in a quiet voice. Commentary. Prahlad was ashamed to hear himself praised. He began to think that by speaking such impossible things, Narada must be teasing him. Still, he spoke gently because he had great respect for Narada, his Diksha Guru. Had Prahlad not been addressing such a revered person, Prahlad might have expressed anger, but by replying in a louder voice. Text 16. Sri Prahlad said, My Lord and Spiritual Master, please reconsider everything you have said. A young boy simply cannot understand correctly the science of devotional service to Krishna. Commentary. Proper execution of devotional service requires mature understanding, since Bhakti Yoga is not only an external practice, but the natural employment of all the faculties of the self. As a general rule, young children, before the awakening of intelligent discrimination, cannot have the understanding required to engage in devotional service. There may be individual exceptions in the highly cultured families of sages and saintly devotees, but Prahlad, considering himself an uncivilized demon, would hardly claim to be such an exception. Text 17 and 18. Still, when one receives instructions from great souls, those instructions have the power to awaken one's higher understanding, and then one can engage in devotional service to Lord Hari. Therefore, it is not a sign of greatness that ordinary persons like me can persevere despite terrible disturbances, give spiritual enlightenment to children, behave like saintly persons, show compassion to suffering souls, or refuse the boon of liberation. Commentary. Prahlad had personal experience of the incalculable benefits of associating even briefly with a pure devotee of the Lord. Thus, he ascribes all his spiritual assets to the mercy of Narada, who blessed him with transcendental knowledge and guided him on the proper path of devotional service. A person has matured in his understanding when he realizes that the four basic goals of life, mundane religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or sense enjoyment, and impersonal liberation, are ultimately inadequate. As a natural consequence of this realization, one begins to recognize the great value of devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Lord's devotees. Prahlad was not crushed by his father's persecution. He preached vigorously to the sons of the Daityas. He behaved like a self-realized saint, dancing and singing in ecstasy. He was merciful to the suffering conditioned souls, and he refused liberation when Lord Nrsimha offered it. Srila Sanatana Goswami comments also that the final word, cha, and, implies that Prahlad pleased all kinds of people. Prahlad argues here, however, that these are not always signs of a person engaged in devotional service. What to speak of someone advanced in devotion? Thus, Prahlad means to refute Narada's statement in text 4 about Prahlad's having been a great devotee of the Lord since early childhood. In analyzing Prahlad's words, we have to consider that he denies only some of Narada's claims about his greatness. Others he simply shows in a different light. Prahlad argues that as a child he could not have possessed pure devotion because a child does not have the strength to understand things or act properly. Prahlad admits that he was able to withstand the torments imposed by Hiranyakashipu, but he could withstand them only because of the protection afforded to all devotees by the internal potency of the Lord. Yes, some Daityas became Vaishnavas due to Prahlad's preaching, but he was deputized to preach to them only because truly great souls are not supposed to instruct immature children. And in any case, talk is cheap, or as the traditional saying goes, Paropateshe pandityam sarvisham sukuram nrinam. It is easy enough for anyone to make himself sound like an expert when advising others. Hare Krishna. In this verse, Prahlad does not even mention Narada's depicting him as fully absorbed in meditation on Krishna, text 6. The comment would be too embarrassing to acknowledge openly. He does, however, admit to dancing and singing in ecstasy. But even practicing neophytes often show these outward symptoms. Beginners in sadhana bhakti should dance and sing as a matter of duty. In other words, each item Narada offers as a sign of Prahlad's greatness is simply a natural effect of pure devotional service. Pure devotional service becomes manifest only when one's intelligence has become mature, and that occurs only when one has received instructions from great saints who causelessly bestow their mercy. So Prahlad argues that the way he behaved is no reason to credit him with laudable spiritual qualities. Lord Nishinga and Sri Narada deserve all the credit. Text 19. Merely from these symptoms, the best of saints do not conclude that Krishna has given a person his mercy. Krishna's mercy blessed Narada. Krishna's mercy, blessed Narada, appears only in a truly worthy servant. Commentary. The most advanced saints are pure Vaishnavas, who understand the power of devotional service to Sri Krishna's lotus feet. I could not have received Krishna's special mercy, Prahlad says, because he gives that only to a devotee who deserves it. You, Narada, are blessed by the Lord's internal potency. You have received his mercy. So you know very well that only a proper candidate can obtain it. The Lord's mercy is infinite, beyond the limits of time and space. But in the material world, it becomes visible only at certain times in certain suitable devotees. Text 20. I have never performed any real service for the Lord, like Hanuman and others. I have only remembered the Lord sometimes when my mind was troubled. Commentary. But you are a devotee of Vishnu, Narada might interject, and so you do deserve his mercy. Prahlad replies by contrasting himself with others, like Hanuman, who serve the Lord actively. Even now, Prahlad says, I am only practicing meditation. I have not yet become proficient, even as a passive meditator. Narada might argue in return that fixing one's mind on the Lord is one of the 9 methods of pure devotional service. Remembering the Lord's names, forms, and pastimes is on the highest level of self-realization in Bhakti Yoga. Because seva means devotional service, Prahlad should not use this word to deny that he has ever served the Lord. Prahlad answers this by characterizing himself as disturbed by material anxieties, a condition that automatically disqualifies him from nama smarana, rupa smarana, and lila smarana. A further argument is also implicit here, that remembrance is not the best form of devotional service, since it depends on the functions of the mind, which are subject to distraction by anxiety and other emotions. This argument will be elaborated more fully later on in the glories of Goloka. That's the second part. Text 21. You praise me because he caressed me and showed other signs of affection. But some consider such affectionate behavior merely a false show of Maya, and others just a display of his pastimes. Commentary. The Advaitavadis of the Shankar school, Shankaracharya school, judge the loving dealings of the Supreme Person with his devotees to be illusory. The Advaitavadis hold that the Supreme Absolute Truth cannot become involved in such duality. But others, the Vaishnavas of the devotional schools, affirm that these are the Lord's pastimes. Far from being illusory, they constitute the highest spiritual reality. The personality of Godhead is full in all transcendental qualities of Sat, Chit, Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And with the help of his Sat, Chit, Ananda potencies, he can easily engage in Sat, Chit, Ananda pastimes. Here, Sri Prahlad's idea is that even though the Lord's displays of affection may be considered real, he has acted in these ways only to fulfill the purposes of his own enjoyment. Prahlad thinks that Lord Nrsimha only pretended to care about him. He's just playing, it's just his Leela. Hare Krishna. You regard those affectionate displays as natural symptoms of his love, but I consider them no more real than a dream. And even if we accept them as real, they are still not evidence of his mercy. Commentary. In the opinion of Narada, an expert authority on the glories of the personality of Godhead, Lord Nrsimha's display of affection toward Prahlad arose from the Lord's intrinsic compassion. One might argue that this does not mean that the Lord had any special feeling for Prahlad, since he bestows his mercy indiscriminately on everyone, just as fire relieves everyone near it from feeling cold. But still, Narada may counter, the Lord showed his favor toward Prahlad. Prahlad replies that he considers the Lord's mercy on him to be like a dream. In other words, it is as good as unreal. The Mayavadis say that the Supreme Person's merciful dealings are illusory products of Maya, but Prahlad here says instead that the Lord's mercy on him was unreal in the sense of being short-lived, just like a dream. Again, Prahlad might be asked why he considers dreamlike a display of affection, which is famous throughout the world, which many demigods, sages, and other reputable persons witnessed, and which he himself vividly experienced. Taking into account that Prahlad's spiritual understanding was already fully awakened in his boyhood years, his saintly behavior and other exalted qualities are obvious symptoms of the Lord's great favor on him. Why should he try to hide this fact? Prahlad can only answer that yes, the Lord's show of affection was real, but still, it was not evidence of the Lord's mercy, particularly on him. Prahlad completes his argument in the next verse. Text 23. The Lord truly gives his mercy, saintly authorities believe, when he grants the right to render various kinds of service, a blessing he gives to such devotees as Hanuman. Nothing else counts as his mercy. Commentary. Small displays of affection are not proof of the personality of Godhead's favor, Prahlad says, but when a devotee becomes mature and has realized his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, the Lord gives opportunities to serve him. There are numerous examples of favored devotees, among them Lord Ramachandra's monkey devotees like Hanuman and Sugriva, and Lord Krishna's Yadu associates like the Pandavas. Thus Prahlad tries to deny the validity of Narada's glorifying him as the recipient of the Supreme Lord's special mercy. He especially tries to deny the relevance of what Narada has described in text 7, Lord Nishinga's having placed Prahlad on his lap and coddled him as a mother coddles her child. Text 24. Furthermore, Sriman Nishinga performed his pastimes not to favor me, but to protect the demigods, his devotees, and deliver 2 of his eternal servants. Text 25. He also wished to uphold the truth of the words of Brahma and of others, such as Brahma's sons, and fully display the greatness of devotional service. These were the only reasons for his pastimes. Commentary. The Supreme Personality of Godhead assumed his amazing half-lion, half-man form to save Prahlad from Hiranyakashipu, the most terrible opponent of Lord Vishnu's devotional service. Isn't this evidence enough that he favors Prahlad? No, Prahlad replies. The Supreme Lord's appearance as Nrishinga and his disposing of Hiranyakashipu served other purposes. The Lord enacted this pastime to protect Indra and the other demigods, who are his faithful devotees. He also descended in this form to free his 2 Vaikuntha associates, Jai and Vijay, from the curse of Sanaka and his brothers. In addition, the Lord felt obliged to fulfill the words of several of his devotees. Brahma had predicted the Supreme Lord's appearance as Nrishinga. Brahma's sons, the 4 Kumaras, had predicted the Lord's killing of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu himself, who was an incarnation of Lord Narayana's doorkeeper Jai, had also made statements that the Lord had to make true, and Narada's and Prahlad's predictions also needed to be realized. A detailed description of how Nishinga had to fulfill the words of his various devotees is found in Srila Sridhar Swami's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 7.8.17, a verse beginning, Satyam Vidhatum Nijabhritti Bhashitam, to make true what was spoken by his servants. When Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad whether his Lord Vishnu was also present in a pillar of the palace, Prahlad answered, "Yes, of course, he is present everywhere." Lord Nrishinga emerged from the pillar to fulfill this statement of Prahlad's, and Prahlad's previous statement, Bhagavatam 7.6.20, that the Lord is also present in the varieties of material creations and in the material elements, bhuteshata matsu cha, mahatsu cha. The personality of Godhead burst forth from the pillar in the terrifying form of Nishinga to dispatch Hiranyakashipu quickly and thus fulfill the request of the four Kumaras that Jai and Vijay be reinstated in their positions in Vaikuntha after only 3 births in the material world. Lord Nishinga's form, neither human nor animal, was like nothing ever seen before in Brahma's creation, and he appeared at the doorway of Hiranyakashipu's court. This unprecedented appearance fulfilled Hiranyakashipu's choice of benedictions from Brahma, Bhagavatam 7.3, 35, and 36. O my Lord, please let me not meet death from any of the living entities created by you. Nantar Bahi, either indoors or outdoors, and Na Narayar Na Mrigayarapi, from either men or beasts. Brahma had answered this request, so be it. Hiranyakashipu later said, I can see that this boy's strength is unlimited, for he has not feared any of my punishments. He appears immortal. Therefore, because of my enmity toward him, I shall die. Or maybe this will not take place. Bhagavatam 7.5.47. And when Indra had wanted to kill the unborn Prahlad in the womb of Hiranyakashipu's wife, Narada had warned him. The child within this woman's womb is faultless and sinless. Indeed, he is a great devotee, a powerful servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you will not be able to kill him. Bhagavatam 7.7.10. All these words had to be fulfilled by the Lord, and as implied by the word cha and in this verse spoken by Prahlad, text 25, the personality of Godhead also had to fulfill his own words from the Bhagavad Gita 9.31, Kontiya pratijanihi name Bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. And 12.7, Tesham aham samudartha mrityu sangsarasagarat. I quickly deliver my devotees from the ocean of birth and death. Therefore, Prahlad concludes that what Lord Nrsimhadev did during his short appearance does not prove that Prahlad is the Lord's favorite devotee. Even though the Lord made a show of neglecting Brahma and the other demigods by showering affection on Prahlad alone, that display should not be taken to indicate the Lord's true feelings. Otherwise, as Prahlad's logic goes, one could infer that the Supreme Lord has no affection either for his Vaikuntha associates like Garuda or for the goddess of fortune, whom he also neglected on that occasion. Lord Nrsimha only wanted to draw attention to the greatness of pure devotional service by showing that even a demon like Prahlad can earn the Lord's reciprocation by steadfastly meditating on his mercy in the face of all dangers. This argument is Prahlad's answer to Narada's statements in texts 7 and 8, that Lord Nrsimha had showered special affection on Prahlad while ignoring Brahma, Shiva, and the other demigods offering prayers, and even ignoring the goddess Padma. So, Hare Krishna, it's 8:05. I'll stop here, and we will continue to hear Prahlad Maharaj's expert refutation of Narada's praise. You can see the pattern, huh? Each devotee is actually more elevated than the one before, and therefore his refutation of his own praise is more and more elevated as we go along. Because it's not so easy to deflect the praise that's coming from Narada. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Today's reading. So if anyone has any reflections or comments, or we only have 10 minutes, so we have to keep it short. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't give your reflections, please. We live on these reflections.
First is something from Brhad Bhagavatamrta.
Brhad Bhagavatamrta back first out of the gate. Thank you.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
I have to say, it was hard to get into the readings, but now all the details about Prahlad Maharaj and his thinking are very interesting. It seems like there is an ocean of difference between my everyday life and these readings. How can I bridge the gap?
You know, hearing these things in the mood that you're talking about is actually non-different than meditating on the Supreme Lord's pastimes and his devotees. That's what you're doing when you hear these things. And when you say that they're interesting, that means that you're hearing them attentively. Because these are very intricate thoughts, and the English is quite elevated. And therefore, if they're interesting to you, that means you are getting the taste for hearing, which is the purpose of this book, by the way. So I would kindly advise you to continue hearing this book and all of Prabhupada's books. Hare Krishna.
He had a second question. He says, is there a difference between remembering the Lord, and actively serving the Lord, as discussed?
No. No difference. Prahlad tried to make the argument, but it wasn't a very strong argument.
And next is a comment from Bhakta Ben.
Because remembrance is one of the 9 processes of devotional service. Hare Krishna. Comment by?
Bhakta Ben.
Bhakta Ben, Harivo.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm currently reading 7th canto, and today I read the Prahlad chapters with you from the past. A very nice reading in which a young 8-year-old boy in the room started laughing at Prabhupada's purport, in which Prabhupada said the materialist exerts so much energy to create a kingdom of hallucinations.
That was Tamal Baba, the son of Dr. Damodar in Houston. Yeah, sweet child.
You commented that a child could understand Krishna-conscious subject matter if he is pure.
Yes, correct.
It was very nice to hear with a room full of physical people. Hopefully the day will come again sometime soon. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyway, I've been put in this situation, and like I've been saying the last few days, now I'm doing the proof hearing of the audiobook for Chaitanya Charitamrita for the BBT, and it's going to be wonderful. And my best friend Vaisheshika Prabhu, who is arguably the most powerful preacher in this movement in terms of distributing Prabhupada's literatures, he said that this audiobook will be the next big thing to hit the movement in order to push it forward. So I'm feeling very lucky and happy to be able to do this service. I know it's a great austerity for me to not be able to spend more time with more devotees. But in the long run, this Chaitanya Charitamrita audiobook will reach a lot of devotees, more than I can put in a room, definitely. But thank you for your sentiment. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Premavati Devi Dasi says, all glories to Prahlad Maharaj and his divine qualities.
Hare Krishna.
And a question from Gauranga Gopal Das.
Okay.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We are hearing how Narada Muni is praising his disciple Prahlad Maharaj so nicely. I wondered how one should react when he is being praised by his guru. Also, should we long for our guru to be more heavy with us? It seems that this happens when the spiritual master considers the disciple more mature to handle such corrections.
Well, we have the example of Advaita Acharya, who, when his servant, what's his name? Kamala Kanta Vishwas. His servant had written a note to the king of Orissa praising Advaita Acharya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but asking him to absolve him of a debt of 300 rupees. So when that note got to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has said a very nice truth that Advaita Acharya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he said, then he made him a pauper. So I cursed this person and I refuse to see him anymore. And then Advaita Acharya said, why can't I get such mercy? All you do is worship me. Now I realize that I have no intimacy in our relationship. So yes, it's true that sometimes in devotional relationships, a chastisement or a kind of a joking word which is meant to kind of comically defame another person can be seen to be special favor by one who has not received that kind of mercy. Everything the Lord does is mercy to everyone. He never does anything to anyone that is not for that person's benefit. Nothing. Even when all the soldiers were killed in the Battle of Kurukshetra, all of them who saw him at least, went back to the spiritual world, and those who were just there attained the heavenly kingdoms for their role in his pastimes. Hare Krishna.
Next is something from Vamsi Vilasi Das.
Hare Krishna, Vamsi Vilasi Das.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
All glories to the Welsh Sankirtan team. Team Sankirtan Wales.
Thank you for another wonderful reading. I like the point about how Prahlad didn't fear disturbing his own spiritual life to become king for preaching purposes. Also how Narada tried to humbly submit himself to Prahlad, his disciple, for purification of his curses. Also how Prahlad elegantly ducks and dives from all the glorifications with so many clever arguments. What makes Prahlad such an exalted devotee, so convinced that he's low? It's inconceivable.
He received the association of Narada Muni while he was in the womb. They say that when a child, before a child becomes contaminated, polluted by sex desire, he's innocent. Although he's not really innocent, because in his mind he still has the reactions of his previous activities in order that will come out one after another. But in the womb, the body, the soul is particularly pure. So he got Narada Muni's, association in such a pure state that it just went in. There was no resistance. A child, a young child can remember things. Even they can't talk, they'll remember things. If you're talking and the child's around, even if they can't talk yet, they remember things, they learn things. They're so receptive, to learning. So Prahlad heard in the womb, the full explanation of devotional service. So he came out the most elevated devotee by the association of Narada. Hare Krishna. And that, my friends, is 15 after 8. So I have to go now. I hope I haven't neglected anybody, but I have to go now. Thank you very much, especially for your wonderful questions and reflections. This book is bringing out the best of everyone. I'm very greatly pleased and greatly amazed by this book, how the effect it has on others. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, huh? Hare Krishna. Sri Brhad Bhagavatamrta ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Brinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. See you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same topic. The creme de la creme of knowledge. Hare Krishna.